Welcome, sports fans, to the latest S&M production of the Sunday Night Sports Nerd Show. It is the most absurd 90 minutes of anything goes, smack talk, and a whole lot more. Every Sunday night, the sports nerd joins forces with three charismatic co-hosts who are a select group of sports nerds with attitude, better known in Nerd Nation as the Rampant. We are four of the most loudmouth, smack-talking nerds around, coming at you with some sick rips and rants, which may be just enough to make you pee your pants. So listen up, Nerd Nation. Let's rise and welcome the legend himself. He is the founder, he is the host, and he is the star of the Sports Nerd Show. Coming to you live, straight out of Lakeland, Florida, Scott, the Sports Nerd Right.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Sports Nerds for August 28th, 2022. The last weekend of NFL preseason. The season starts in less than 2 weeks with a Thursday night special, Rams and Bills. Joining us tonight, our very special friend and guest, Mr. Derek Lofland. It's always great to have Derek on the show. We're going to have him talking NFL football, and we are going to dedicate this entire show to the greatest sport in the world, the NFL. So let's get going, and let's have a blast doing it. Along with my co-hosts, as normal, Mr. Elliot Big E Lamba, Mr. Ken Costlo making his second appearance in a row. All right, it looks like the new toy is working well for him. And of course, Mr. John G. Olson. Derek, welcome to the show. Glad to have you with us.
How's it going, guys?
Billion. All right, good to have you here, Derek. Let me just first say, Kenny, did you enjoy your college football game over the weekend for ESPN?
Yesterday? It was actually a high school game.
It was a high school game. Okay.
High school game, yeah. It was two of our powerhouses here in North Texas, Duncanville High School and South Oak Cliff. South Oak Cliff is the defending Class 5A state champion, and Duncanville's been in the state championship game in 6A in the last 3 years. So it was pretty interesting game. Very.
You were spotting 1st and 10. Is that what you were doing, or first down?
1st and 10, yes.
Yeah.
I got to work with Tom Luganville and Jay something. I don't remember who he was, but it was pretty interesting. It was sellout crowd.
Or is it like something like volunteer kind of deal?
Supposed to pay $165.
Okay, we'll see how that goes, right? It's supposed to.
Yeah.
Two things real quick. I like the comment about, isn't that what the yellow line is for spotting 1st and 10? In your post with your picture, there was a comment in there. Somebody said, isn't that what the yellow line is for, to spot 1st?
Yeah, supposedly.
And second,
got to have somebody there to paint it.
Hey, just for the record, I want to make sure we don't have any obituary shit to cover today, Scott.
No, we do not. No.
No, we don't. But
Thank
we
goodness.
Well, unless was Lynn Dawson done last
You
week?
had to open that up, Elliot.
Shit.
Lynn Dawson plus Washington Commanders rookie running back Brian Robinson was just shot in an apparent carjacking. So attempted carjacking.
Supposed to be not life-threatening injuries. So. I just saw that. Yeah.
Now that we're venturing on the lighter side of sports.
Lighter side of sports. Yeah. Let's go right into the Bills punter now.
No,
Harry's been hanging with Deshaun Watson, man.
Let me just do a quick shout out about Lynn Dawson. Lynn Dawson, in addition to being a Hall of Fame quarterback,
he drank Fresca.
I remember when he and Nick Bonacani did the first Inside the NFL.
Yep. The NFL. Yeah.
Okay, and they were the host of that show for over a decade. It was him and Bonacani, and they did they're the ones that put Inside the NFL on the map, and they did a fantastic job doing it.
Dude was smoking weed on the bench. Huh?
Yeah, he was smoking a cigarette during halftime of the Super Bowl.
That's what he says. It was a fucking cigarette. That dude was blazing up.
But rest in peace, Lynn Dawson. Rest in peace, Lynn Dawson. And let's move on. Derek, so what are your observations thus far in the preseason? I know you told me during the pre-show and during the in the green room that you're not watching the games, but what are you keeping an eye on as we lead up to the season starting in just 11 days?
Yeah, 11 days. And the reason I don't watch much of the preseason, I used to be more into it. And Sean McVay, I think, has really kind of changed how the league looks at preseason because he doesn't start anybody in the preseason.
Right.
He's made 2 Super Bowls. They've won a Super Bowl. And they usually have one of the least injured teams in the league year after year. And seeing he's had so many of his disciples go on to be coaches, most of the people that come off the McVay coaching tree aren't playing anybody. So you still have guys like Andy Reid and Bill Belichick that'll play more starters. I feel like the old school type of coaches tend to do that. But you just don't really learn much in these preseason games because there's not a lot of starters playing. They don't scheme for anybody.
The defenses are vanilla too.
The defenses are vanilla. I mean, I don't know what you really learn from it. Every year you'll see a rookie quarterback, have like 150 quarterback rating and a couple touchdowns, and then he has 70 quarterback ratings all through the season.
The prime example of to why I don't watch preseason football is because last week Scott made a big hubbub about how Buffalo beat up on Denver, and then this week they turn around and get shut out by who?
Who were they even playing today? I don't even.
Whoever they played. Preseason means squad. Dude.
Yeah, they played the Panthers. They lost 21-0 to the Panthers.
Yeah, to the Panthers.
Oh, now we're talking the Bills? Smack talking the Bills already?
No. I was just saying, just for clarity, okay, it wasn't smack talking the Bills. I was saying the reason I don't watch preseason is because one week you got Scott saying that the Bills look unbeatable, and then the next week they turn around and get shut out by the Carolina Panthers. Yeah. You just don't. You don't put.
Basically, cracking open that egg to Buffalo.
I look at things like this, like the rookie Treylon Burks from Tennessee. He's been playing in the fourth quarter with like the 6-string guys, people that are going to be working at Home Depot in a couple of weeks. And he's out there playing with those guys. And that's somebody I'm not ranking in fantasy anymore because how can you trust a guy to be playing early in the season if he's playing with guys like that? I look at Gibson from Washington, from the Commanders, playing special teams. And, now I don't know what's going to happen because we were talking about earlier about Robinson being, shot, and thankfully the injuries are non-life threatening, but I don't know how that's going to affect his availability in the first couple of weeks. Those are the things I look at. When are you playing in the game? Who are you playing with? Stuff like that. But as far as wins and losses, or as far as, this, like somebody was talking about Tua, that he underthrew Tyreek Hill. It's like it's one throw in one game. I mean, I don't necessarily think Tua is going to be great for the Dolphins, but I'm not going to make any judgment based on one 50-yard throw in one game. I mean,
exactly.
You can't micro-analyze it like that. I mean, Tom Brady's made a bad throw. He doesn't make many of them, but he's made a bad throw. You could sit there and do that with anybody in the preseason, look at one throw and be like, hey, that guy can't play. He made a bad throw. Or you could put anybody in the Hall of Fame on one
That's
good
why,
throw.
That's why, you know what? Preseason, summer league, and NBA, all that shit doesn't make any – I mean, it's a waste of freaking time.
Basically, you're going through preseason hoping nobody gets hurt. That's what you're hoping.
And that's why they're not playing anybody.
Well, and look at the Steelers. T.J. Watt got dinged today, and Deontay Johnson got dinged today. Yes. And now it doesn't seem like it's serious, but they might not have 2 of their best players for the Bengals game because they had starters going today.
Yeah, I mean, and the Browns lost a cornerback to an ACL injury when last night when they were playing. So, I mean, it's you just get through go through the preseason, hoping you come out healthy and ready to go for the regular season. That's what preseason is for.
Yeah.
You play your starters. If you play your starters, you play them one series a game, get them some reps. The majority of what they're going to be ready, the majority of them getting ready for the season, is going to happen during training camp, and when they get football speed going, and then. It takes some teams. It'll take a couple of weeks to get their feet under them during the regular season, but still, at least you're healthy going into the regular season, and you're not playing your starters a lot during the preseason because the preseason doesn't count. All you want to worry about is getting to that first game of the season. Well, so I'm a big fan of the Sean McDermott type program where you don't play your starters during the preseason. You get them ready. You get them ready as best you can during training camp and during getting reps during practice leading up to week 1.
Yeah, it's important for the rookies like Romeo Doubs. I mean, he took advantage of a great opportunity in Green Bay with Christian Watson being hurt and them not playing their starters. Rodgers is talking about him making wow plays every day in practice. He had a couple good games in the preseason, and he's going to have a role now. It's important for those 4th round guys. It's important for those last guys looking to make a roster. But I knew about Dobbs before he was doing anything in the preseason games because I was reading about him in practice the whole time, and I pay much more attention to what's going on in practice, how people are looking there, how reps are getting split, and stuff like that than a series or two in a preseason game that there's no scheming for. There's no game planning. Nobody
right. And preseason is not for your starters, but it's for those guys trying to make a roster as well. You got those guys. Right. You got those guys. Your non-drafted free agents, your late round draft picks, trying to make the roster and trying to get a career going in the NFL.
Your grocery baggers, your Home Depot,
right? And some guys may not make their
club.
Right. Some guys may not get on the roster that they were drafted on, or they got picked up as a non-drafted free agent, but they can highlight their skills and get some tape on them. So maybe other teams can pick them up after the preseason and bring them in either a practice squad or as another backup, or it doesn't matter. They're fighting for a job and trying to live their dream. And that's what the preseason is for those low end rounders that are trying to get on a squad, trying to make the cut, trying to make get into the NFL, by showcasing their talent during those 3 games in the preseason. It's not for the starters. It's not for the superstars. It's for those guys lower on the totem pole that are fighting for a job. And if they get hurt, that's part of the deal. But they need those reps in the preseason to highlight and to showcase what they can do for any team in the NFL, whether it be the one that drafted them or the one that signed them as an undrafted free agent, or for a team that can pick them up after they're cut from another team. So, I mean, that's what preseason is for. I don't put a lot of stock in performance during the preseason. 2 weeks from now, it's go time. Let's do it.
Yep. And like one guy I thought that showed really well is, and I'm a little bit of a homer pick by me, but I like how Jordan Love looked in the preseason. Now, I know he had some interceptions. And
he looked better this preseason than he did last year, Derek.
Yes.
I can assess that. I can attest to that.
His arm talent looked better. And the interceptions he was throwing, receivers were running the wrong route and balls were bouncing off.
A lot of those interceptions were not his fault. I wholeheartedly agree. But his accuracy has definitely improved from where he was this time last year.
Yeah. And I still don't know if he's going to end up being a good player. I don't think he's going to get a chance to show in Green Bay because they can pick up his 5th-year option, but they can't franchise tag him. And so he's got 2 years in Green Bay at the most, and I don't think he's shown enough that they're going to move on from Aaron Rodgers anytime soon. And so they're going to have to make a decision to trade him, and I don't know how much they're going to get for him because everybody knows that Green Bay can't keep him.
Well, how much longer do you think Aaron Rodgers has in Green Bay?
I mean, he signed basically what amounts to a 3-year deal. If his play falls off the cliff, I think the Packers might be willing to move on sooner. But I don't really see that happening. He hasn't shown anything that he's.
No, he hasn't shown any indications that his talent or that his ability is going to drop off anytime soon.
Yeah, wait till he starts throwing to Sammy Watkins this year. Watch out.
for all of 2 weeks before
Sammy stubs his toe and he's out for the season, right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
No, Sammy's gonna have a great fantasy game in week 1, and then
first waiver wire pickup of the year, right? Everyone's gonna go get Sammy, and then
Jesus God. So, what do you think about your wide receiver core in Green Bay this year, Derek? I mean,
I'm excited about it. I really am. I am. Yeah. I like how Dobbs has looked in the. Well, here's the thing. They're going to be more of a running team.
We lost Ken. I don't know where he went, but we lost him.
Maybe he ran out of.
Maybe he ran out.
He ran out of data.
He may have. Anyway, go ahead, Derek. I'm sorry.
Oh, no worries. So they're going to use the running backs more. I think Aaron Jones is going to be used more as a receiver. I think they're going to go with A.J. Dillon in the backfield, so they'll have those two on the field at the same time. I think Lazard has shown some upside, and I think Dobbs has shown some upside in the preseason. It's going to be a work in progress. I mean, they're going to miss Devonte Adams. There's no doubt about that. But I think they got the running game, and I think they got the defense. There are 6 first-rounders that are going to be starting on that defense, and Wyatt is a 7th first-rounder. That defense is just going to be freakish athletic this year.
So I guess the question on the flip side is how's Devonte Adams going to do without Aaron Rodgers?
Well, he's going to a team that's got a good quarterback in Derek Carr, but definitely not on the same level as Aaron Rodgers. I think Adams is going to be good there. I think that the question was never whether Adams was in decline. It was, are you going to give him 6 years, $140 million, and what was it, like $70-80 million guaranteed? Where I'm happy that the Packers didn't give him that contract is not this year. It's when Adams turns 31 or 32 and you're in the back years of that contract. That's where the problem was. And I think they did a good job of adding to the defense to be more athletic there. And the whole trick to whether it's going to work out is how Watson and Dobbs are going to do. If one of those guys shines, I think they got enough of the other guys to have a good passing attack. It's not going to look as good as it did the last couple of years, but they weren't winning playoff games the last couple of years. I think they decided defense and running game were more important, and to shore those positions up and rely on Rodgers to throw to the young guys.
I think Devonte is stepping into a pretty good situation because, I mean, they got Hunter Renfrow, they got
Waller.
And Waller. As long as he doesn't go out driving the Vegas Strip at 180 miles an hour, he'll be fine.
Yeah.
Oh, too soon, man. Even though it was a year ago.
Yeah, I think he's going to be fine. And Josh McDaniels is a good offensive minded coach, and I think they're going to do good things. The question for the Raiders is they could have a great year with Carr, great year with Adams and Waller, and finish 4th in that division. With
that division
Chargers,
is just, I mean, dude, that division is nuts.
That's what the NFC used to be. Now it's the AFC West.
Yeah, the AFC West is just insane right now. I mean,
top to bottom, you just don't know.
Yeah, you just don't know which one of those 4 teams is going to be at the top. I mean, it's San Diego.
You could very well get 3 out of the 4 teams in the playoffs, too.
Correct. The Chargers are loaded. The Broncos have got Russell Wilson now, so I mean that's also a good team. They've always had a good defense.
Believe it or not, I think even with Russell Wilson, if I had to pick the weakest team in that division, it would be Denver. Out of the 4,
I think it's the Raiders.
I think so.
I think it's the Raiders.
Really?
I do.
I don't know if I could trust Sutton and Judy.
I think it's the Kansas City Chiefs. And
I was predicting the Chiefs finished 4th in that division.
Hell yeah. Screw those guys.
I didn't think the Raiders were very good last year, and I think they had a lot of really close games where everything just kind of bounced their way. And I know they added Chandler Jones and they added Devonte Adams and they got the new coach with Josh McDaniels. So but I don't like their running game real well there, and their offensive line is. We'll see how it holds up over the year.
You know where I would give them an advantage is if Melvin Gordon wasn't on the Broncos.
I don't think you can have too many running backs. Running backs get dinged up, and I think as long as where it's going to be a problem is if they do the 50-50 time split. I don't think they're going to do that. I think Williams is going to see 65 to 70% of the touches.
They better not.
But Derek, let me ask you this: how much is Patrick Mahomes going to miss Tyreek Hill?
If you give Mahomes the contract that the Chiefs give him, you're basically saying he can do it with any wide receiver. When you give a franchise quarterback that, and look at Drew Brees down in New Orleans when they added Michael Thomas in the 2nd round, Alvin Kamara in the 3rd round. Look at Brett Favre up in Green Bay when Donald Driver, a 7th round pick, Greg Jennings. Look at all the 2nd rounders that Aaron Rodgers. That's what you are if you're a franchise guy.
Even with Juju Smith-Schuster, though, I don't see Juju as a number 1 wide receiver. Juju was only good in the years he played with Antonio Brown, I believe. Okay, he's been somewhat on a decline since, and the TikTok factor doesn't help him out any. I think I've been hearing the name Sky Moore.
Sky Moore, yes,
as the guy that could be the one that steps up in that receiving core. It's all going to depend, too, on what defenses do with Travis Kelce now that Tyreek Hill is not around.
Right.
Because that could hurt Kelsey's game more than it could hurt.
Because Kelsey's going to get double teamed, and they're not going to worry about the receiving core as much with Kelsey being double teamed. I mean, that's some of the things that we covered on the show before. Is that Kelsey can be hurt by the fact that Tyreek Hill is no longer on that roster.
He could, but I think Mahomes has a strong enough arm, and you got a guy like Valdez-Scantling who they signed in free agency.
Yeah, but you're a Packer homer with that pick. Come on, give me a break.
They just need somebody with speed that he can hit over the top. I mean, Valdez-Scantling had a good yards per catch average and had a lot of deep touchdowns. I'm not saying that he's going to step in there and replace Tyreek Hill. They don't have a guy as good as Tyreek Hill on the roster. They don't need a good guy as good. If they're going to sit there and double team Kelsey, the back of the defense is going to be open, and you're going to have one of the strongest arm quarterbacks in the league throwing him the ball. I'm not worried about. I don't worry about Hall of Fame quarterbacks losing wide receivers. That's why they're Hall of Fame quarterbacks, and that's why he has that type of contract. I think the Chiefs are going to be fine.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll see what.
All right. Well, what about this question that keep getting tossed in my direction, but I really don't answer because I don't know. Trey Lance, what's he going to do for the 49ers?
I don't know.
Exactly.
He is a big question mark. Yes,
he's a big question mark. If he were, they seem like they're pretty committed to him, and I understand they have to. In a way, they have to be with the amount of draft capital they gave up for him. If he can't start this year, and they had to go with Garoppolo, you're basically saying that was a wasted pick at that point. So there's a lot of pressure on the front office to start him. But that being said, they've been in the NFC Championship game and the Super Bowl in recent years with Garoppolo. If Lance was an absolute disaster that they had no faith in, I don't think they would go and basically let their ego get in the way and not play the better quarterback. He has to be showing something in their training camp that they think he's going to be the guy. I think it's going to be inconsistent. I think there's going to be some games you watch him play and he's going to look like one of the best quarterbacks in the league. And there's going to be other games where you watch him and he's going to look like he shouldn't be a third string quarterback in the league. They just have to work on building him up and getting his consistency there. What
phase of the offense can possibly assist him to play better or excel with the talents that he has?
I think Deebo Samuel helps quite a bit because they can use him in the backfield and he can be that home run hitter. I think George Kittle, if he can stay healthy, that's a nice safety blanket there. And then it's just basically trying to not turn him into a pocket passer. I think the worst thing you can do with a young quarterback like that, who's learning to read the defense, is to handcuff him and basically make him stay in the pocket. You don't want him bailing too early where he's not making any reads and being reckless, but you also need to. You drafted him because he has elite athleticism. You need to let him use it.
Do you believe that his mobility is going to have Kyle Shanahan put together more running schemes that involve him and the running game? Because San Francisco loves running the football.
I think it has to, and I think Kyle Shanahan is flexible. That was Nagy's problem with the Bears last year. They wouldn't use Fields' mobility at all. They did not embrace it at all. And he got sacked like 9 times against Cleveland, and he's getting killed behind one of the worst offensive lines in the league. So I think that the Niners absolutely are going to design running plays that are going to utilize Lance. The other thing is they got 3 good running backs there. They don't have an elite running back, but I think Elijah Mitchell showed well last year, and Trey Sermon has looked better this year, but I don't think he's going to have a huge role early on. But I think that's the other thing that helps Lance. Run the ball. Running the ball is always a friend to a young quarterback.
I know one question that's been out there because of the season they had last year, and the guys have had different opinions about it, but the Bengals, do they even come close to what they did last year, or because they went out and made some improvements?
They did. The thing I like that they did is they recognized that the offensive line was bad. And not only did they address it, but they addressed it in free agency with guys that are going to be able to play this year rather than drafting a whole bunch of draft picks that they might need to develop. They're a hard team to read because they just kind of got hot at the right time at the end of the season. And, they could have easily lost that game to the Raiders. They didn't really play that well against the Raiders. And, they had 3 playoff games where kind of everything bounced right for them.
And then 9 sacks versus the Titans. They shouldn't have probably won that game either.
Probably should have won that game. Tannehill gave him a gift with that third interception in that game. And and Henry had been hurt and didn't really look very good in his first game back. There was a lot of things going on. And then Kansas City had that game won in the first half and just completely collapsed in the second half.
Imploded.
So I think that, the Bengals are a team that could be better than they were last year, but they could lose their first playoff game at the same time because the AFC is just
stacked,
brutal and stacked right now with great quarterbacks, great offenses, great, overall teams. And so they might win 10 or 11 games and it might result in them losing in the first round and not going very far.
Let me ask you this question. No, I'm waiting for you to beat me up on this, but I'm going to ask you, where do the Browns go with Jacoby Brissett the first 11 weeks of the season?
Where do they go?
They go to the lottery.
Well, I mean, here's the thing. You look at Pro Football Focus, they rank the Browns as the second best offensive line. Okay. They got the best backfield, arguably, in the league. I think Green Bay and Cleveland have the top two running backs, and I would go with Cleveland as having the better ones. I think Chubb has had better overall years than Aaron Jones. Kareem Hunt is more established, and they got the third running back in Johnson. They have a good defense. They have all the pieces, and so I think what they're going to have to do is kind of play like the Giants did when they had Jeff Hostetler that year and went to the Super Bowl. You rely on the running game, you rely on the defense. You're not going to try to go 11-0, but you got to hold it together so you're 6-5 or 7-4 by the time Watson gets back, and you can make a late season push. But I mean, they got good pieces. I mean, but they're definitely going to be handcuffed in the passing game. And the difference is when the Giants were doing that, 1990 was a lot different than today. It's more of a wide open passing game.
Correct. Chonky is in the house, John. I'm going to give him a link so we can reconnect his freaking account to Restream. So Chonky is in the house, and
dude, he doesn't. Dude, you're giving him too much credit. He doesn't even know how to click that link. Okay, every time you get into an argument with this guy, he says, "Go Bulls" or "Go Bears." That's it. That's
Chonky, click that link and reconnect your Facebook account to Restream so we can see your name. That's all we want. All right. The Bears are going to be terrible this year. They're going to end up in the they may beat the Lions in the division, but the Bears are the Bears.
With me being in Illinois, I'm in a league with a bunch of Bears fans, and so I named my team the Arlington Heights Bears. Yeah. And I didn't capitalize the Bears, and then my photo is a picture of an abandoned racehorse track.
Yeah, Justin Fields is going to be surrounded by defensive backs and defensive linemen this year in the backfield. He's just the Browns are the Browns. Yes, Chonky, the Browns are the Browns. That's okay. All right, let's talk about the elephant in the room. And that would be
there's a stampede in the room. What are you?
Let's talk about the elephant in the room, and that is punter Araiza from the Buffalo Bills.
We're going to talk about a punter.
Yes.
Yeah. What are we talking about?
The Bills.
Why is that an elephant in the room?
Well, because John's, because John's.
Let me.
They cut him. They cut him. There's no more elephant. Dude.
Yeah. How franchises care more about the culture rather than winning.
Cleveland. No. You don't get to do that. They knew about that 2 weeks ago, and they cut them. Once the whole thing leaked out,
they cut him. They cut him. Should they have cut him 2 weeks ago? Sure. Is it proven? Well, apparently in the social justice warriors, he's guilty already, even though it hasn't got. I don't know. I didn't even look into it because it's like as soon as I hear that, it doesn't surprise me. These football players always get themselves into this stupid stuff.
But he's cut, so he
got cut. Yeah, he got caught. He got cut. Move on. That's they didn't know when they drafted him. There was nothing that they knew when they drafted him. Did they know a couple weeks ago? That's the rumor, but they cut him.
Isn't that what Cleveland did with Deshaun Watson? They didn't know.
No, they gave him a $250 million guaranteed contract.
Yeah.
So,
isn't that like $10 million per victim or something like that?
Dude, it's like first of all, okay. Bills by $1 billion. Okay, that's the first thing.
Click the link I posted.
He doesn't know how to, bro.
Your account back to Restream.
He wants to maintain his status as a Bears fan and hide in the weeds. Come on.
Yeah, that's what they do. Dude, listen, we're not even going to punt it anyways. The entire season, we're just going to 4th and 6. Let
the Bills
Josh.
did work out 4 different punters today, by the way. So we'll just
Yeah, and it's like all the punting guy needs to do is just tap it in. Like,
as
just
good as he
tap
is,
it in.
All right, Happy Gilmore.
As
All
good
right,
as
I like the
he-
Happy
hey,
Gilmore
as good
reference.
as he is, Josh Allen could probably punt for the freaking Buffalo Bills. Okay.
Dude, we had Matt Barkley punting on Friday, and he was averaging like 45, 46
Yeah,
yards a
Matt
punt.
Barkley, the backup quarterback. There you go.
Let's go, Bitcoin Barkley, baby. Let's
Change
do
of
it.
Danny White and the Dallas Cowboys. How
He
about
couldn't
that?
make it as a
do it.
quarterback. Shit.
You know, one of my favorite punting quarterbacks was Randall Cunningham, because he punted when he was at UNLV, and I think he had a 90-yard punt for the Eagles. I think he has the longest punt in the history of the Eagles franchise still.
Well, Derek, if you're old school, you can appreciate Danny White because he was the quarterback and the punter for Dallas for a couple.
He was a
of
better
years.
punter, actually.
He was a better punter, but yes, that's okay.
Dude, there's no elephant in the room, man. They cut him.
No.
Did they go as quick as they should have? Maybe not. But
They
you know what?
escorted that
There's a lot of
elephant out
moving
the-
pieces with that, and he's still not. He's been charged, right?
I think one of the problems
There's
came out
more
is
Cleveland elephants in the room than any other room. Okay, let's just.
Okay, whatever.
I think one of the things that became problematic too is the victim had pictures of her neck that she posted on there. Now who knows? I mean, would they be admissible in court? I mean, do they necessarily? We can get into an argument about all that stuff. But I think from a public relations standpoint, it became
That's it.
how much of a PR nightmare do you want to take for
Right.
a punter?
And they're
like you
not
said,
going to
is
take
gonna
it for a
punt.
punter.
No.
They're not going to. No, see ya. It doesn't matter if he is punt god. Doesn't matter. See ya. Have a whatever, dude. If you're cleared of it and you make your way back to the NFL, whatever. But it's like they're not going to. Just like you said, Derek. Regardless of what people think of the Bills, the culture that they have built there is you're in line. If you're not in line, we don't care. This is culture first. It's true, dude.
No,
Listen,
I'm talking about Chunky comment.
Oh, dude, Chunky is just like he's bitter.
With a name like Chunky, why don't we see what he fucking looks like?
He's
He's probably never seen the ass end of a treadmill in his life.
Chunky
is every day on a fucking treadmill. What the hell
I've known him for about 20 years now, man. Chunky.
I'm sorry,
Hey,
John.
man, you have my
sorry.
condolences, man. Sincerely.
Mm-hmm. It's good stuff. Anyways, Buffalo, it's whatever, man. Like Elliott said, they cut him. Move on.
Cut him.
It's a
That's
footnote.
it.
It's like he's as much as a Buffalo Bill as Anquan Bolden was a Buffalo.
They
Bill.
punted. They punted the elephant right out of the room.
There you go.
Punted him out, man. Yeah, man. So it's whatever. I'm glad they got it done now and they didn't let it linger. Like I'm not one of the I'm one of the dudes that'll be like, I saw what happened to Shady when his girlfriend put all those pictures up about how he beat her ass and this and that.
I
You
think
never know.
I think one of the biggest elephants that never leaves the room are the Dallas Cowboys. And Ken's not here to defend himself, but what do we got to say about Dallas and Mr. 14 seconds? I'm gonna run the ball when I need a touchdown or whatever.
I don't think they're going to make
my
playoffs.
point is that Dallas was appraised at $3 or $4 billion are the most expensive. They're the most.
Five.
They're the highest. They're the most expensive franchise in the NFL. And Kenny Mayne posted on Twitter, "How can you rank these guys, this team, so high when they haven't won a championship in 30 years? For God's sake."
Well, I mean, they got
Everything's big in Texas.
they're in one of the top metropolitan areas in the country. They have one of the
Yeah.
biggest stadiums, and they're America's team. You got
And their brand
older-
their brand has survived the test of time over and over and over again.
Absolutely.
I get that. You know what I'm saying? But the bottom line is that for such a storied franchise, their inability to even, I mean, come on. There's been so many memes put out there about the Dallas Cowboys and their impotent playoff appearances over the years. And come on. what happened last year was the epitome of what the Dallas Cowboys are all about. When Dak Prescott takes off running with 14 freaking seconds left, no freaking timeouts. Okay, come on.
They're Notre Dame football.
Notre Dame. A good point. That's a great point.
And Notre Dame could be the worst team in the freaking league, and you still get the Rudy movies out there, and and I get it.
I mean, the thing you need in sports to be popular is you need a large segment that loves you and a large segment that hates you, so that you get people tuning in for both reasons.
And that way, Dallas is the best of both worlds, Derek.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you have a huge fan base in Texas that has rooted for them, since Landry was there, that are never going to stop rooting for him. And then you got to put the people that hate him because they're America's team, and they hate him.
That's why the Yankees are worth over $5 billion, because they get the same love-hate from everybody.
That's why Notre Dame has an NBC contract.
Well, now the Big Ten has a CBS contract too. So
so where does Dallas end up this season? Back to
is Philadelphia going to be good enough to beat Dallas for that division this season?
I think so. And
defensively, watch out for Philly, dude.
Yeah.
The question, I think, is I don't think Washington's going to be able to compete with them. I'm a little curious about the Giants, and I maybe I won't be very curious in about 3 or 4 weeks after I've got to see him. But I mean, if Saquon Barkley can stay healthy, and now that they have a real offensive mind at head coach, if they can rehab Daniel Jones, who knows? I mean, I'm not saying that the Giants are going to win 12 or 13 games, but I think Dallas has offensive line problems. They have wide receiver problems, and I think they relied on a lot of turnovers last year.
Well, Dallas has a lot of offensive linemen that are hurt. They got hurt in the preseason. Going back to our previous conversation.
Who says you need 12 or 13 wins to win that division anyway?
Right.
I mean, my question is Jalen Hurts going to move himself to the next level?
This is his do or die season right here.
He has to do it this year. You can't bring in A.J. Brown. You can't have Devonte Smith there. You can't have all the weapons they have at running back. You can't do all that stuff.
Because they have the weapons around him.
Dallas Goedert at tight end. They got
the weapons around him.
But
Jalen
now
Hurts
what's more important is
what's
more important though is that defense. And that defense is going to be something to reckon with this year. Because they are going to go crazy. You know what I'm saying? And if they can take advantage of what that defense is going to basically serve them on a silver platter most of the time, then the Philadelphia should win that division.
Yeah, there was a play that Hurts had on a pass to Goddard in the preseason that Dan Orlovsky was breaking down the film on Twitter and kind of showed how impressive the read was and how the throw was. And again, you can't make snap judgments on one throw, but from what I've seen in the preseason, he's better. I don't know if he's good enough that they're going to want to commit to a long-term contract with him, but I think he's better that they'll win the division this year.
I think we'll know in the first 6 weeks probably where he's going to be. 6 to 8 weeks.
That's fair. I think so. I think Washington's a complete train wreck because I don't think Carson Wentz is going to do anything different there. So the question is, are the Giants going to be better enough and Dallas be worse enough that the Giants can overtake them? I think right now I'd still lean toward Dallas being the second team in the division, but I don't know if they're going to make the playoffs. I think the NFC East might be a one playoff bid division.
Let me ask you this. This is good. This is going over to you. What about the AFC South? I mean, looking at Indianapolis
what about it?
I mean, granted, it's probably the worst division in football, but Matt Ryan is now the quarterback in Indy. And I mean, does Indy take that division, or do you think Tennessee takes it again with Ryan Tannehill at quarterback?
No, I think by default, because they have Jonathan Taylor, I think Colts have a better shot.
I think so too.
Yeah.
Because Derrick Henry, I think he's still good. I do worry about his durability after last year. I'm not going to hold too much against him for one playoff game where he hadn't played, coming off a layoff and not looking the same. But I'm more worried about him staying healthy than Taylor.
But usually a big guy like that, when they suffer a foot injury, that doesn't always go away forever.
Yeah.
You know, when you got to carry that much weight and you have bad feet, that's not a good combination.
Let me ask you this. This is I mean, this is not a popular question, but How well do you think Doug Peterson helps the Jaguars this year?
Anything helps the Jaguars over having
Better than they had last year. That's
I mean, Doug Peterson is a Super Bowl winning coach. He won with a backup quarterback in the playoffs. He made some mistakes there. I mean, and wasn't able to sustain the success. I think he paid for some of the mistakes that the front office made, and he took a year off, and now he's back. He's got a generational prospect at quarterback, and it's going to be a work in progress. That was one of the worst rosters in the league, but they're going to be better.
But they still went out and overspent on Christian Kirk.
They did. I mean, and to the anger of a lot of other owners that then had to pony up for all these receivers this offseason. And right. I think that's the thing is I don't see the supporting cast there yet for their offense to be great, but they're going to be a team that gets better every week. There's going to be a plan, and there's going to be a scheme, and they're going to be working toward doing something better. I think it's still probably a 5 or 6 win team. I think they still don't have enough talent on the roster.
Do they finish better than the Texans, or is the Texans going to be in the cell?
I don't know. I think the Texans might actually finish ahead of them.
Pierce has looked really good, and if Davis Mills can build on his second,
you know what? Mills had a good season last year. Mills surprised a lot of people last year.
They still got Cooks, don't they? They still got Cooks at wide receiver.
Still got Cooks. Nico Collins is
and that Pierce rookie, is he legit?
He looks really legit. He's looked very good in the preseason. That's worth.
That's a fantasy sleeper. Like, you think people are going to wake up to him, or you think
I've read that
his on people's radar?
He's on people's radar. I've been reading that his ADP is skyrocketing, and he's probably a 6th or 7th round pick right now. And the problem with a guy like that is the guys that just start reading the stuff and see who the hot names are, all of a sudden you'll see him fly off in the 4th or 5th round because somebody read something online about him being a sleeper, and they think they're getting the next Adrian Peterson.
Yeah, those online bloggers are really great resources right there.
They are. They ruin everything for everybody.
Is this guy? Is it Bryce or Breece Hall for the Jets?
He's taken a step. Breece Hall. He's taken a step back because Michael Carter's been getting a lot of time. I'm reading that's going to probably be a 50-50 split early in the year. Now, I think Hall's going to get every chance to win that job because not only did they use a 2nd round pick on him, but they traded up for him.
Yeah.
But I mean, if Carter's averaging 4.5 yards a carry and Hall's averaging 3.5, at a certain point, you go with the guy that's getting you the yards, and Hall just has not looked very good in the preseason.
I'm going to bring John to this conversation. What do you think of the AFC East, Derek? I mean, is it Buffalo's division to lose, or is it they're the dominant team in that division? I mean, Miami might be the number 2 team in that division.
No.
No, Miami's not? You think New England still's number 2?
I think New England's number 2, yeah. Yeah, I do. Buffalo's the clear number 1.
Yeah.
I mean, there's nobody can compete. New England still got the defense. I think Mac Jones looked really good last year. I know there's going to be some chaos with McDaniels not being there and this offense.
Well, the fact they're not naming an offensive coordinator or a defensive coordinator. They're doing it by committee, I guess it looks like.
I think there's more of a plan there than what's being played off in the media. But I mean, no matter who calls it, they're not going to do as well as McDaniels did.
Don't forget, Belichick doesn't play his cards.
He doesn't.
He doesn't show his deck, his hand.
They got one of the best backfields in the league. They got a good offensive line. They have Mac Jones in his 2nd year, and their defense is still top 5. They're kind of like the Big Ten team, where basically they're going to have to play with the lead, because if they get down by 10 points in the second half, that's not a team that's built to score quick to come back in games and stuff like that. Right. But Belichick knows how to call a game. I think they'll be fine. I mean, they should win 9-10 games again, just like they did last year, and be in the wild card conversation.
So you don't think that Miami has the guns or the talent to take over New England as the number 2 team in that division?
I just don't trust Tua yet. I mean, and we'll see. Maybe he'll prove me wrong now that he's got Tyreek Hill there, and I
think Waddle takes a step back from what he did last year. I think he falls back because of Tyreek Hill. And I really do believe them getting rid of Devonte Parker wasn't a good move either. So I'm just saying, you can't get rid of a veteran like Parker because Waddle had such a great year. Because, like I said, now the true test is where does Waddle fit with Tyreek Hill in the mix?
Well, and Gesicki lined up in the slot quite a bit last year, and now they're asking him to block more. He's not a very good blocker, so I don't know what that's going to do in their running game. I don't trust their head coach. He was a really off the radar hire. I mean,
Not
I know
to mention your owner.
not to mention the owner. I mean, that's a team. That's a team they're perpetually one of the worst run teams in the NFL. And I mean, that's what a bad team does. They go out and get Tyreek Hill. They make the splash move, trade all the draft picks, get all the buzz, from doing something big in free agency, and then win 6 games in the regular season. I think Miami's being overvalued. I don't think Tyreek Hill is going to have the impact there that people are saying. I think he's gotten a little bit older, and I don't think he has the quarterback like he had with Mahomes to get him the ball downfield.
All right, let's move to the NFC South. You got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers as the perennial favorites in that division. But I think New Orleans might put a little damper on their season, because I think New Orleans has a lot of talent. The question mark for me in New Orleans is Jameis Wilson.
Well, not just Jameis Wilson, Jameis
Winston.
Not just Winston, but you still got question marks in Michael Thomas.
Yes.
You got question marks in Alvin Kamara and his legal issues.
Yep.
Okay, that's still hanging over like a dark cloud over the organization. They have a lot of question marks. Maybe not on defense, because I still think they have a high caliber defense, but on that offense, there's question marks all over the place.
Yeah. I think Carolina could be a surprise team. I really do.
Do you think Baker has what it takes to lead that team?
I think Carolina has a chance to surprise in that division. Yeah, I do. I do. And the thing you got to remember, I didn't bash Baker Mayfield and say that he was a no-talent quarterback in Cleveland. What I said was that you cannot give him a $250 million contract with $90 million guaranteed, because he's not that guy. But he's not being paid like that guy down in Carolina. I think the question for them is if McCaffrey can stay healthy.
I was just thinking
he hasn't been able to.
He has to stay healthy.
Hey, get out of my head, Derek. I was just thinking.
He's got to stay healthy, because McCaffrey's had injury issues the last 2 or 3 years. So,
and it's just the same thing. And especially now, I was talking about what's his name, Henry, with his big frame getting injured in a foot. And then you got McCaffrey, who took so many hits, handling so many balls in his first couple seasons, that once he got an injury, it just doesn't seem to go away.
Right. They need to use him more as a slot receiver and get him throws out of the backfield. I've never understood why they
get him out in the open, right?
Yeah, don't use him as a between the tackles runner. He doesn't have the frame to play out there, but he is so dangerous in space, and he's not going to take the same hits out there. And so Baker's an act. I mean, Baker last year played with a shoulder injury, and I think he didn't show good leadership at times last year. And like I said, I don't think he's been consistent out there. But he's on a 1-year contract with a lot to prove.
He's gonna beat the piss out of the Browns week 1.
Beyond a shadow of a doubt that Baker Mayfield has that date circled, starred, all kinds of stuff, because he's looking forward to going and beating the piss out of the Cleveland Browns.
And that is in Carolina. Yes, absolutely.
And that would concern me, because I think where he makes mistakes is when he's too confident in himself and makes plays that he's not capable of. He needs to stay within himself, hand the ball off, make the safe throw.
Check his ego. Check his ego.
Yep. Check his ego. I mean,
Team Baker.
The best thing for them is if he was 20 for 30 for 200 yards and 1 or 2 touchdowns, no picks, and they controlled the game in the running game.
Now that Baker's no longer in Cleveland, you guys are rooting for him? Is that what it is?
No. Dude, I'm a Tom Brady fan now that he's not in New England. If I could cheer for Paul,
I'm going to root for Baker, because I still think he's a childish punk from time to time. But it's going to be interesting to see if he can actually not just bring his game to Carolina, but if he could change his whole attitude and demeanor.
Well, not only that, but he gets a change of scenery. He's healthy. That's number one. Okay.
Well, yeah, he's not gonna have to play in Cleveland anymore by that freaking lake where it freaking snows and it's cold most of the time, and the weather's
What's wrong with
nasty.
that lake?
There's
where
nothing
it
wrong
snows.
with Lake Erie. The
Josh
Lake
Allen seems
Erie,
to be just fine next to that lake.
Lake
Yeah.
Erie is awesome. I love
Yeah,
Lake
Josh
Erie.
Allen does fine with that.
Yes.
Aaron
exactly.
Rodgers does fine next to the lake.
Yeah.
Yes.
The lake
But
wasn't
Baker
the problem.
Mayfield didn't do so fine with that lake.
No, and that's like, dude, I remember when the Bills drafted Josh, and like there was all the people, Josh isn't accurate. You can't teach accuracy. Yeah. Josh sucks. And they always said they drafted him to throw in that type of weather, and he's built for it. Even though he's a California kid, he played his
He
college
went to
ball in
Wyoming, though, John.
I know, and that's what I'm saying. And like, there's
Yeah, it's
certain
not exactly-
guys that can play in that.
Yeah, it's
Aaron
not
Rodgers
exactly
can play
summertime
in
in
that.
Wyoming. You know.
He
Brett
went to
Favre
Wyoming.
could play
The
in
dude
that.
was gold for Wyoming when he was there.
And that's and so Baker
People
might
in
not have
Wyoming-
been able to play in that. Now
Because
he's in
people in
Carolina. He
Oklahoma
was in
and
Texas before.
People in Wyoming commute on sleds, man.
Or
Come on.
Oklahoma, sorry, wherever the hell he was.
Well, he's a Texas kid, but he played in Oklahoma. Yes.
Right, he played with the Sooners. Yeah.
The other,
Right.
there's no expectations down there. When he came to Cleveland, he was the
Right.
first overall pick, and he was supposed to be the savior of a franchise. He's on a
He could be
1-year
a-
deal.
He could be a redemption story, is what he could be.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah, and I don't think
Really?
he's going to do so well down there that he's going to get a $200 million contract and be a
Right.
franchise quarterback. I didn't think he was that guy in Cleveland. Why would I think he's going to be that guy in Carolina? But
Right.
he took a Cleveland team to the playoffs in
And
a
he
tougher
had weapons
division.
in Cleveland. Like,
Yeah.
he came into that team with weapons. Like, they surround, maybe not the O-line. Well, they had Wyatt Taylor.
I
but
think
I
they
mean,
got weapons in Carolina. You know what I'm saying? I
they
think
got
he's
DJ
enough
Moore and
weapons
CMC.
there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You know, they also got
Robbie
Robbie Anderson.
Yeah. Who's their tight end? I couldn't even tell you.
I couldn't even tell you either.
I can't even tell you off the top of my head.
Let's
Ian
find
Thomas.
Yeah.
Might
That's
be
the
Ian
last I
Thomas.
remember. That's the
Greg,
last
Greg
I
Olson a
remember.
couple of years ago. Like, is he out of retirement or something? I don't know.
No, he's still in the booth, I think, somewhere.
Oh, dude, talk about the booth. I listened to the Bills game.
Greg Olson actually is the number one color guy for Fox this
Well,
year.
you know who they had on Friday doing the color? Steve Smith, and it was awful. Like, it was like listening. Like, it was take Chris Collinsworth and multiply him by about 10, and that's what you got with Steve Smith doing. He's like, "Oh, look at the Panthers. We're beating the piss out of the Bills. Yeah, the Bills are starting all their team one guys. Like, we had one guy who was like a starter.
But
playing
that's
defense.
Steve Smith, dude. He's a bloviator. You know what I'm
Oh,
saying?
dude, it's
I don't like Steve
blow
Smith
up.
whatsoever. I don't like him. I don't like him.
I loved
don't like
watching
him.
him play.
I didn't like him when he was a player. let alone, you know.
He's a freaking Stephen A type, dude. All he does is
Man. It was,
You know,
it was
According
bad,
to the
bro.
Carolina Panthers website, their
What about-
tight ends are Josh Babbage,
Who?
Nate Becker, Ryan Izzo,
Who?
Garrett Scott,
Who?
Steven Sullivan,
Who?
Ian Thomas,
Ian Thomas. There you go. I know that guy.
Colin Thompson, and Tommy Tremble. Those are their
I
tight
know
ends on
Tommy
the
Tremble.
roster.
I've heard that name before.
Yeah.
Dude, that's rough and stuff, man.
Yes.
Yeah.
That sounds about like the amount of quarterbacks that Cleveland has that aren't any good.
Scott, what have you been hearing about Brady down there as far as with his absence? Because you probably hear a little bit
I
more.
love
on the local media.
the quote that Brady made today or yesterday, whatever it was.
Yeah, he said, I'm
Dude,
45 and
I'm
things going on.
45 and shit is happening. So I mean, I love that quote.
See, like, that's why I love Brady now. Like, I enjoy him. I
He's-
even follow
hey,
him. It's
He's
great.
like, I ain't worried, guys. I'm ready.
And he played well in week 3
He's
preseason.
ready, dude.
So he's
Look,
ready
he's
for
done
the
this. He's done this far too well for far too often.
Guys,
Okay.
whenever we start doubting Tom Brady is when we need to hang it up because you never
Dude,
doubt Tom Brady.
he was one
Oh, he
blown
can do.
defensive play away from going back to the Super Bowl.
Yes.
Okay. If they don't blow that freaking defensive coverage against Cooper Kupp in that game, I tell you what, Tampa goes to that Super Bowl.
Yeah.
And they
They
probably
take
win it.
care of Cincinnati and they go to the Super Bowl, and
Yeah.
they probably would have won.
My favorite Brady stat is that his win-loss differential is 170 games. It's more than Big Ben, who won 165 games in his career. And Big Ben, I think, is the 5th winningest quarterback in the history of the league.
He's
Brady's
still-
win-loss differential is
It's crazy,
greater
man.
than all
crazy.
the
Than his
four
amount,
players
yeah.
in the league.
And
He's
his
the
total.
GOAT, man. He's the
Yeah.
GOAT. Man. As a Bills fan saying that, I never thought I would, but he is. I wouldn't say that if he was playing, in New England still. I'd say, it's all Bill. It's all Belichick, man. Yeah, it's all him. Tom's just a system quarterback.
Yeah, okay.
No,
Whatever.
Tom's
I think it's been proven beyond a shadow of a doubt that team was successful while Tom Brady was there. Take Tom Brady out of the mix and look at where they are now.
I get sick of that debate. Belichick's the best head coach in the history of the league.
Yeah.
As long as he has Tom Brady.
Yeah.
As long as he has
Tom Brady was a 6th-round pick that was the 199th pick in the draft that he developed.
That's right.
And he told the owner of the Patriots when he was drafted, by drafting me, you made the best decision of your entire life. And he was right.
He was.
Okay.
He was.
Calling
but
a shot.
I get sick of this thing that we got to tear down Belichick in order to build up Brady or the other way around. You have the best quarterback in the league and the best head coach in the league.
Bill's not personable. Bill's a douche.
I hate Bill Belichick. I can't stand the man.
Like he's just
and he
was
the coach of the Browns in the 90s.
That goes back to what you said before. In order to be involved in greatness, you got to be loved and hated.
Yep.
And Bill Belichick gets a lot of both.
He does.
Okay.
He definitely does.
I mean, Brady's going to be fine, Derek. I think. I mean, the news out of here is that it's a personal issue. He's not going to reveal what the reason was. I mean, whether it was, him going on The Masked Singer, which was the rumors. Okay,
right. I read that. Yeah.
Okay, or the fact he had to deal with some health issues on his own. I know his mother has been dealing with cancer for the better part of the last decade.
Yeah.
But I guess she's okay now. I don't think it was his family. I think he was trying to get himself well. I don't know if he was having issues with his body or what, but he may just needed 11 days off to get his body and his mind ready for the season. That might be what it is all it is.
So now that we know that Drew didn't have a lock on the starting quarterback position in Seattle, Geno
Smith is the starter in Seattle.
Let's go, Geno.
Poor DK.
I feel bad for Noah Fant. Can you be like, he had to be so excited when he heard Russell Wilson was getting traded there, and then he finds out he's part of the package and he can't shake Drew Lock.
Be interesting.
Now he doesn't even get to catch passes from Drew Lock because
Seattle finally got that good tight end, and then Russell Wilson's gone.
Who do you like in that division? You like the Rams still in that division, Derek?
I like the Niners or the Rams. The only reason I'm a little skeptical of the Rams is that elbow issue that Stafford's been having. And they said it's okay, but it's a long season. You got 17 games, and what's that elbow going to look like in November and December after?
And that's his throwing elbow too, right?
His throwing elbow.
Yeah. See, anytime, and the thing is every time you torque that elbow to make any specific kind of throw that requires some oomph behind it, that is a potential to freaking rip your elbow apart.
Well, and all he needs to do is be throwing it one time and get hit on a sack or have a defensive lineman jar the thing, and you could have a whole other set of issues. I don't really like the Cardinals in that division.
You don't like the Cardinals? I was going to ask you about the Cardinals. What do you think about the Cardinals?
I didn't like how they ended the season last year, and Kyler Murray, I like some parts of his game, but he's been inconsistent there as well. I think it's going to be the Rams or the Niners.
And then he's not even going to have Hopkins for the first 6 games. Okay, I think Connor might take a step back. I really think they kind of whiffed at getting rid of Chase Edmonds myself. Because he was that two-way guy that they can rely on to help Murray out of certain situations. So, no, I don't really have confidence in the Cardinals either.
They lost Chandler Jones. They lost Chandler Jones. That's a huge part of their pass rush. And they were terrible at the end of the season last year. I mean,
the long tooth of J.J. Watt ain't gonna work for you either.
John, why are you smiling like that right now? What do you got going on in your head, John? I can't hear you, John.
I think he's doing that on purpose.
I lost your audio, John. Did you?
No, I just muted myself because the kids are like, The kids are like screaming. In here,
So what was the smirk there for, John?
I'm just watching Josh Allen on Twitter. It's okay. Don't worry. It's like the Bills, Super Bowl favorites.
The love is real.
What did we talk about tonight about this jackhole kid? Who's irrelevant now. And then when we talked about the AFC East, it was like, oh yeah, the Bills got it. Let's talk about the Dolphins for 5 minutes. Let's talk about the New England Patriots for 5 minutes. Never mentioned the Bills. So I gotta go to my little happy
You know
place
what? Hey,
and watch the Bills.
John.
The Bills are the class.
They're that good. They don't even need to be spoken about.
You know what? The Bills are so good you don't need to talk about them because we know how good they are. It's basically all it is.
Left unsaid.
It is what it is, John. You know what? I love the Bills. I love Josh Allen. I love the talent.
I love the Bills' chances more than any other team in the league at this point. Okay.
Yeah. Yes.
The only thing that's going to stop the Bills is the Bills.
Or the Bills.
The Bills doing Billsy things.
Yes, correct. Yes.
No, they didn't this past weekend, so they got rid of the trouble. So let's move forward. Let's go. Let's get it done. But anyways.
No, if you told me to pick one team in the NFL who I think the favorite to win the Super Bowl is, I'd go with the Bills. I think it's their time this year. I really.
There you go, John. Now you got your props. You happy now? Come on.
That's all I needed. I just needed a little back rub. It's just all I needed,
All right, it's 8:30. We're going to call it a night. Derek, thank you very much for being on the show. We appreciate you being here.
Thanks for having me. It was a lot of fun seeing you guys.
I'm always cheering for Green Bay in the NFC, man. I'm always cheering.
I'd love to see a Bills-Packers Super Bowl. That would be a lot of fun.
Pop in from time to time during the season. Please feel free.
Absolutely. Just give us a heads up.
You know what? Don't even ask.
We appreciate a lot more notice than you gave us today. But
I was gonna text you earlier in the week, and I got busy with some stuff, and I realized I forgot to.
Dude, don't worry. Scott can fit you in. Don't worry.
I've been around long enough to give you permission. You just
bring it up.
You just sent a message saying I'm gonna be on the show Sunday.
Yeah.
All right.
You don't even have to ask. Just show up.
Programming note, the Sports Nerds will not be on next week because Elliot and John have drafts they have to worry about. So we're going to let them do their draft next week. We will be off next weekend. But when we come back, it will be week 1 of the NFL season. And we can recap the games and get going with live NFL football talk with games that count. So on behalf of my co-hosts, Mr. Elliot Big E Lamba, Mr. John G. Olson, and Ken Koslow, and our special guest, Mr. Derek Lofland, I am the Sports Nerds. We are out. Let's go Browns. Hit me, Elliot.
Well, there you have it, Nerd Nation. Another Sunday episode of the Sports Nerd Show in the books, and we are still alive to tell about it. Now, on behalf of our host, Scott, the Sports Nerd Right, and his co-host, John Olson, Ken Koslow, our two lovable members in the Rat Pack, and yes, me, Big E, the entire pack would once again like to thank you all for participating with us in the best 90 minutes of sports smack talk on the web today. So until next Sunday night, dear nation, we would like to leave you with a quick PSA. Please stay safe. Please practice social distancing. And for heaven's sake, please wear a damn mask. You all just got hit with a pack rant from the Rat Pack. And with that, fellas, we are